Good meowing guys, gals, zimmies, and YouTube catters. Well, now that Blazing Dominion has officially released, and now with a brand new ban list, we're officially in that Blazing Dominion meta. I've been able to do a lot more testing, a lot more deck building, a lot more tinkering with the Elfnote whiteforest deck. And today I bring you the updated list for Elfnote's whiteforest. This is what I've been playing at locals as of late. I believe I found a nice balance of the whiteforest engine being able to supplement Elfnotes in this deck, and what I am sure will be a very viable deck in the meta going forward. Now, of course, if you like this video, enjoy this video, found this video helpful, let me know down in the comments below. And while you're there, like and subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. We're almost at 1K, but I appreciate any and all support nonetheless. So let's just immediately hop into that deck breakdown. All right, so just a couple of things to note before we get into the deck list. After multiple weeks of playtesting, taking this list to locals, as well as being able to playtest it on various deck building sites, I've come to the conclusion that this needs to be more of an Elfnote deck than a whiteforest deck. While the Elfnotes are very supplementary to the whiteforest engine, the Elfnotes do get to play around a lot more of the meta hand traps, like your Yugioh Lockbirds, like your Fuwaloses, like your Perulias, and your Elfnote engine does get to bridge into the whiteforest, whereas there's some lines that you can do with whiteforest into Elfnotes, but it involves running cards like Magician's Souls, doing long drawn out combos that also just kind of gum up and brick your deck as well, and that you don't want to see in your opening hands. So I don't really find them viable. I think you just have to kind of take the L on not being able to bridge fully into Elfnotes if you see just all whiteforest engine. And that is until we get the level 10 synchro in Chaos Origins though. This deck is at 41 cards. There is one cuttable card that I'll talk about here in a little bit that I personally like to still run just because of people main decking hand traps like Fuwalos, like Perulia, like Drolin Lockbird in this upcoming format. And it's good to help play around. I also understand if it's a little disheartening that the deck is becoming more Elfnotes than whiteforest. You still get full whiteforest boards through your Elfnote engine, and we're still ending on these same pieces. Just the engine itself of whiteforest you want to see less because it's always going to be searchable with this deck if we start with Elfnote engine. So with all that being said, let's finally get into that deck list. To start us off, we are on triple Elfnote Lucina. Lucina is going to be one of the best starters for this deck because it is basically a Kashtira Fenrir. You special summon it out and it adds you on ignition will add you any Elfnote monster. We then have our 3 copies of Elfnote Tinia. Since whiteforest is still a spell and trap deck, Tinia is our best Elfnote monster. Elfnote Tinia is a 1-card combo into whiteforest as well. And now with Tinia, we get to summon out our Elfnote Regina at 3 copies. So this is one of the cards that I had, after more testing, had to immediately go up on. This card is absolutely crazy, is absolutely insane. Even if we don't have the level 10 Elfnote synchro that we're getting in Chaos Origins, this doubling as a secondary hand trap basically during your opponent's turn to disrupt them by just going like Elfnote Regina, send a power patron, or send a spare Elfnote monster in your hand, special out the Regina. Regina bounce their normal summon with Lucina, even hand ripping what they just searched with Tinia, bouncing a field spell that's been activated or a continuous spell that's been activated for the first time with Fortuna. Our 1 copy of Fortuna, this definitely is the weakest of the Elfnote monsters, but it does give us a interruption in the way of the continuous trap. We are on 2 Elfnote Power Patron. So this is one of the things that I was hesitant on, but again, after multiple weeks of testing, you really do need 2 Power Patron. A lot of the times it kind of can get stuck in your hand to where you have to normal summon this Power Patron, and we've tooled the whiteforest side of this deck to play around that. But again, now with Elfnote Regina, as well as the continuous spell, as well as the continuous trap. You're going to be summoning Elfnote Power Patron at least 3, 4, 5 times in a turn to get into your level 8s and your level 10 synchros, and even level 7 synchros more easily. Our 1 copy of Elfnote's Welcome Home, and then finally our 1 copy of Elfnote's Rhapsody of Madness. I could see Welcome Home going up to 1. Sometimes it is in your opening hand and it's a little unfortunate, but this is also not a garnet in a way, but definitely something you'd never want to see, as you just want to place it with your Tinia and get that free value off your Tinia. For the White Forest engine now, we are on 2 LZ of the White Forest, 1 LZ Azamina of the White Forest, 1 Sylvie, and 1 Rusia. So I know a lot of commenters will be happy. I've gotten so many comments ever since doing the pure White Forest Azamina builds, where we've cut Rusia out of the deck because she is kind of a soft brick, as you don't really want to use your normal summon on her. But in this deck, she's actually great because, like I said, a lot of the times we're having to use our normal summon on that Elfnote Power Patron. Once we do get to our Reselia through the Elfnote line, we get to search LZ, search our Rusia, and now we have a level 4 to make our level 10s because we have a White Forest on the board. It also gives us much needed card draw for the deck, as this deck just mainly just searches. So this lets us draw into our interactive hand traps or more spells and traps. And since, like I said, Sylvie and Rusia are both searchable through our main combo lines, are always going to be searchable through our main combo lines, splitting the difference between the 2 4s is not too much of an issue. Continuing our White Forest package, we are on the triple field spell. So now that we are not running the Azamina engine, the field spell is actually one of our best starters or best extenders if we open both engines. We are on the 1 copy of Tales of the White Forest. This is again our best extender, best search with Sylvie, if we already have access to that field spell. 1 Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. Since OSS is not legal for the TCG, this is our best search for LZ Azamina. It's also our best extender to search with LZ Azamina, and it gives us disruption during our opponent's turn as well. And then finally, Woes of the White Forest. This is the 41st card. This is what you could possibly cut. I personally like being able to run more traps for Diabell Star Vengeance, as well as having something to do into Droll or into Multurmy Fuwalos. Really comes up if you already have access to the White Forest engine. So it could definitely be something that is cuttable in the future. To round out that White Forest package, we have the best part of the White Forest engine, and that is the Diabell Star Vengeance or Diabell's engine with Diabell's the White Witch, Diabell Star Vengeance, Philia Diabell, and Curse of Diabell. For that non-engine though, we are on a triple Multurmy Fuwalos. This is pretty standard. Triple Ash Blossom, 4 enemies Fuwaloses or Multurmies. This is also pretty standard. Then we are on double Forbidden Droplet. So if you wanted to bump this up to 42 cards, or like I said, if you want to cut that Woes and keep it at 41, if I had the ability to, I would be playing Harmonias over these droplets, playset of Harmonias. I am just broke. I can't afford triple copies of Harmonia as of right now. But if you do have access to Harmonia, it would definitely take this slot over Forbidden Droplet. But if you do not want to also shell out for Harmonious, Droplet has been the best board breaker / non-engine to main deck that I have found in this format. To wrap up the non-engine, speaking of hand traps to play during both turns, we are on triple Infinite Impermanence. Again, this is solely for that reason of being able to play during both players' turns and being good off the top deck. You still want to have a high spell and trap count for your White Forest engine, so this is the best option in terms of non-engine, in terms of hand traps that we can run in White Forest. And then our final card is 1 copy of Called by the Grave. Pretty self-explanatory. For the extra deck, we are still on the 1 copy of Poplar, 1 TG Hyper Librarian. This is going to be your bridge from your Elfnote engine into your White Forest engine. This can honestly be any level 5. I've seen some lists run Garden Rose Maiden, Now that Hyper Librarian is going to go into our Resilia, our level 6, our Silvera, and our Diabelle, Queen of the White Forest. So typical, all of the White Forest names are here. For level 7s, we have our Black Rose Dragon. This is still the best level 7 to make going second. We're also still on the F8 Dawn Dragster, so if you were to switch to our Harmonia, this card would probably be the first cut, just because we do need to put in Harmonia targets. Harmonia targets being primarily Wild Beast of Along, as well as I've seen some people play a Master Packbit. You can even play Wind Pegasus Agnister as well. All of those have graveyard effects, are very viable options to disrupt your opponent. We talked about this earlier, but we are still on the Zolin to summon off our Diabelle. This is basically Baron de Fleur for the deck, and the best that we can do with what we have. One copy of Elfnote Seraphim Strelitzia. I could definitely see this being bumped up to 2 copies, especially in a Cool Tune meta, where they do get to rip your extra deck during your turn if they wanted to. 1 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. This is our anti-droll, anti-nib plays. You can go into this on your 5th summon and before you search anything. For our level 10, we have Fabled Levy Lazable. I've seen some people run Cheng Ying, as Cheng Ying does get to use its effects a lot to banish from the graveyard, banish from the field. Both are interchangeable. You just want some number of level 10s because you're going to be making level 10s very often with your Elfnotes and your White Forest level 4 tuners. Our other level 10 is our Chaos Angel. Now for our tech slot, we are on 1 copy of Cool Tune back to back. So I'm plus minus on this card a bit. It's a little clunky to make, as pointed out by my catters. It can be made with multiple synchro tuner monsters or tuners. So it can be made with cards like our Poplar, our Sylvie, our Resilia, plus the level 6 synchros like the Silvera and the Rusia. Now with a lot of Cool Tune decks running around, Fairy Tale running around, a lot of stuff that requires certain levels, K9 still being very viable, still being very playable, or decks that just require a lot of certain levels to play, Cool Tune back to back is a mini floodgate. Definitely wouldn't be making this all the time. This is more of a games 2, game 3 kind of inboard piece, kind of like our Saint Azamina, where we already know what our opponent is playing and if this will affect them or not. But if we do get to set this up, a lot of fun plays that you can do with this Cool Tune back to back. You can special summon out your Poplar, quick synchro into this, and then Cool Tune back to back brings back your Poplar and quick synchros with any materials. So your Poplar can then go with your Diabelle Star Vengeance to make that Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. Speaking of that Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon, our 1 level 12 synchro is going to be that Vengeance Dragon. This is still one of the best removal creatures and inboard pieces that we can make during our opponent's turn. And then finally, our last card is that Guardian Chimera for that Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. So like I said, really enjoying this deck right now. I think it is wonderfully placed in this upcoming format. It's definitely going to be a competitively viable deck. I won't lie to you and say that this is tier 1, this is the best deck in the format. It is, we all know it's Cool Tune at this point, or currently at this point. And really every deck is just kind of playing to play around it or beat Cool Tune in and of itself. But I do think this deck has a lot of pushes, has a lot of extenders, is able to play through a lot of disruption very early on before going into our supplementary engine of White Forest, for example. So I do think you wouldn't be going wrong if you were to play this deck in this upcoming format. If you do enjoy White Forest still, and you don't mind the Elfnote engine, or you like the Elfnote engine as well, this is the perfect deck to take against the meta, or take against the field at high level tournaments in this format. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. Let me know down in the comments below if you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, additional cards to play test or try out, want me to discuss for the deck, let me know down in the comments below as well. But with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, good night.